Hey guys, ready for a fantastic garden this year? You know, this is going to be your year. This is it. This is going to be it. Man, it's exciting. We're going to grow a great garden this year, and you are too. Even if you had some failures in the past, come on. We're going to show you how you can succeed at this, okay? What do we want?
Amazing garden!
And when do we want it?
Now!
No, not now. Snow's still on the ground in places, so we got to wait. But it's a great time for planting. And remember the saying, nobody ever plans to fail. They just fail to plan. So we're going to get started with a plan, and that's where you should start too, with the plan for your garden. Even if you're a very first-time gardener, we're going to show you what to do to get started. Start planning your awesome garden now. First thing is, where are you going to grow your garden and how much space do you have? So of course it needs to be in a sunny place, it needs to be well drained. You can use raised beds, you can even use pots or containers, but you need to determine how much space we have. The next thing is time. How much time are you going to have to spend on your garden? Need to kind of calculate that out. I happen to live 8 minutes from my work, and I only work 10 hours a day, but I've got 3 days off every week. Now Sundays I don't count because I try not to do any gardening on Sunday if I can help it. So how much time does a garden take? In my experiences, what I've broken it down to is about 38 to 40 minutes per square foot per year. And that's calculated over about a 9-month gardening cycle. So that's about how long it takes, 38 to 40 minutes per square foot per year. Kind of calculate that out on what time you have to spend on your garden. Time is definitely a consideration. Let's decide what you're going to plant. So, what do you eat? And go from that list. And how much of it do you eat? That would be the next thing. And how much area do you have to work with? Need to answer all these questions, and then we'll move on. Now, if all you have is a small area, do not let that stop you from gardening. If you've just got 1 or 2 pots you can put something in, use those pots and get started. If you have something like a raised bed, even if it's just one, get started. You can grow a lot of things in a small area. And one thing to consider, if you have a very small area and you use a lot of herbs, whether it's fresh or dried, you can save a ton of money by growing your own herbs. I mean, look at the prices that we found in the grocery store on some of these herbs. Now, it's only a couple of dollars, just a very small amount. Some of them less than 1 ounce, but still a lot of money for a small amount. That you could grow a whole lot more than that in a small area. Grow your own, dry your own for storage later if you're not going to use them fresh, and save yourself a ton of money. So don't let a small area stop you. Now another thing you consider is growing more than one crop. From the last average frost date to the first average frost date, I've got about 179 days. So I've got a lot of room to play with to grow a lot of material. And a lot of your crops will produce in 60 to 75 days, especially beans, broccoli, the cauliflower, carrots, things like that are going to produce within 60 to 75 days in most cases. Now another thing to consider, if you're in a smaller area or you just want to conserve the area you've got so you can plant more, is growing vertical. Obviously, pole beans, you can grow those vertical. You can grow cucumbers vertical. You can even grow winter squash vertical. And I've seen some people growing summer squash vertical, where they're raising that up off the ground, getting the leaves off the ground, get them a little more area where they can plant more things. And that is definitely an option to look into for a small area of garden. Another way to conserve space is cooperative planting. Now I like to plant my green beans and my corn together. I can plant in a 3-foot wide row that I usually use. I'll plant green beans on the outside of that row, and I'll plant corn in the center. And that helps the corn because, of course, the beans produce nitrogen for that corn to feed off of. So they grow great together, and it takes up a whole lot less space that way. Now our goal is to be more self-sufficient, to grow as much what we eat as we possibly can. We're already 100% on our beef. We're a lot lower on our vegetables, so that's what we want to take care of. We want to try to up that game where we don't have to go to the grocery store and buy these items on a regular basis. We want to be able to grow everything that we are able to grow for our family to have it ready for us. That way, number one, we know we have grown it, what kind of conditions it were grown in, and number two, we're saving those dollars from having to go to the grocery store and purchase these items, and that's going to be a big help. Plus, it's a great satisfaction. We eat green beans 3 or 4 times a week, so I want to grow a lot of green beans. Broccoli, we eat 3 to 4 times a week, so I want to make sure I grow enough broccoli to cover us, and that is it during the season when it's coming in and to put up in the freezer for later. Tomatoes are a very large item that we use. We use those 4 to 5 times a week, so I definitely want to grow enough tomatoes to cover that need if I'm wanting to cut down or eliminate what I buy from the grocery on that item. So now at this point, you probably want to sit down with pencil and paper and calculate out exactly what you're going to be needing, how much you're going to plant, and how much you need seeds for. And I've made a list, and what I've done is I've got 13 people in my family. Of course, they're all married, they're all their own households. Trying to grow for 13 people everything I need is going to be a lot of work. I would probably have the room for it, and I could probably do that. But like I said, it's a lot of work. So I want to grow for me and Kathy, that's our household, and probably 2 more. So I want to grow enough for 4 to 6 people for a year. And that should cover most everything I need. And I have found a few places on the internet where you can go and it will tell you about what you need to plant. Now you need to be careful because some of these websites, they're putting out what you're going to eat fresh and not what you're preserving. I found one website, University of Kentucky Extension, and it tells how much to plant per person. Now it kind of broke it down a little odd for me the way I do it because it had things in yields of 10-foot row. Of course, you know, a lot of people used to plant, and probably a lot of people still do, plant in rows. And just a single row, to me, does not produce the amount of usefulness out of that amount of ground, out of your garden when you do that. So I usually try to plant in a 3-foot wide row. So I went back in, I broke this down into how far apart each vegetable needed to be put. I then figured out how many plants according to this chart that I needed because it's got a section for fresh and a section for store, can, freeze per person. So I added those two together to get my total that I needed to give me a starting point. And that's all that's going to be, is going to be a starting point. Okay, so of course it starts with asparagus. That is something that's going to be a perennial. It's going to grow for several years, so we've already planted that. It recommends about 3 pounds per person per year, so, and that is fresh and freezer. Okay, you're going to have to kind of figure out what you do, and I did some adjustments on mine because, you know, not everything that in here I want to grow that much up because maybe not everybody in my family likes that. Like some of the hot peppers, there's just 2 or 3 of us that are going to eat hot peppers. So I try to scale that back to that amount of people. Cucumbers, everybody is going to eat the pickles that my wife makes, especially the smokehouse and the cinnamon pickles. I'll try to get you those recipes. But especially those, we're going to have to grow a lot of. So that's probably going to go above what they suggest on that. Another one is, like I talked about before, green beans. We eat a lot of green beans, so I'm going to up the amount that they suggest on green beans, peas, tomatoes, and some of the sweet peppers. But I broke it down in, and you can too, and I'll try to leave you a list of this that I did in the description. But asparagus, of course, is going to be an annual, so you're going to have to plan ahead on that. And it worked out to be about 10 to 15 plants per person per year for storage and fresh use when it's in season, which is a very short season. The green beans, they suggested about 60 plants per person. Well, I know that is not going to be enough for us. So when I multiplied that out, instead of 60 plants per person, I ended up with 300 plants for about 4 people. Broccoli was the same way. They suggested 11 plants per person, and I upped that to where I've got about 15 to 20 plants per person, because I know that our consumption of the broccoli is going to be high. So now is the perfect time to sit down, get onto your computer, order some catalogs, or go online and shop for seeds. The only ones you may have trouble finding will be the onion seeds that you need and the garlic. I have found that if you wait till this time of year to try to order onion seeds and the garlic, you've got a limited choice. You can find it. It just may not be the ones you are looking for. So early, you need to order those. So I've got my seed stock here. I've got these in actually, it's a photo saver, but my wife was good enough to give me one of these. She's got about 100 of them, so I got one of them. So, and there, I know when I'm going to plant on cucumbers. I know the exact plant that I'm going to plant, and it is a Russian pickling cucumber. And I've got that from Seed Saver, and this is about the 3rd or 4th year that I have saved seeds, tomato seeds. And it's a German pink is going to be one of my favorites that I'm going to use. Also saved some purple whole peas. Now these were given to me by a friend, Mark, that I work with, and he has given me these seeds because some of them had larger pink eyes on them. So I'm going to plant those separately just to see what I can get out of those. And this is another seed that Mark gave me. It is Hickory King, and it's the yellow corn. And this is so tall. Look how tall that corn is. He's having to reach up to pick that ear. Big, beautiful ears of corn, full of kernels. I'm excited about it. It is a field corn, and I'm excited to plant that. Thank you, Mark. Me and Mark talk gardening all the time. But everything else on here, you can probably get on there and find and order. Get that in here, get it ready to plant. And then get your seed starter material ready, and we'll do another show on that when we get ready to do that. Plant our seeds ahead of time, and then we'll start gardening. And of course, gardening to me is a year-round thing. We may not be out in the garden gardening constantly all the time, but we are planning. We're thinking ahead. We're trying to figure out what we've got left over, what we need to get more of. What kind of seeds do I need to order? What kind of onions and garlic do I need to go ahead and order early in the fall to get here? What other seeds do I need to order, and when do I need to get them here so I can start them? Do I want to start them into cells, or do I want to start these into ground? Now, a lot of your beans and peas are going to be started in the ground, of course, but tomatoes and things, you want to start that ahead of time. And anytime you're planting an item, you want to plant a few more plants than you need, because some of them will not germinate, some of them will not make it to the stage of where you put them out in your garden. I hope this has been helpful, and if it has, I hope you will like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and hit the little bell over there. That will let you know every time we have got a new video on, and we will be coming back to you pretty soon. Count your blessings every day, And I believe you will find you are blessed far beyond measure. I know that I am. Bye.